Here's the thing. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they ship work that's forgettable. Work that slides through the world like water through glass, leaving no trace, no dent, no gasp. I've seen it inside companies, in startups, in artists and engineers. It's not that they don't care. It's that their standard is calibrated to the average, and the average is loud, busy, and boring. When I was young, I could feel that danger pressing in on me. The pressure to be sensible, to be safe, to be one more voice in a chorus of polite mediocrity. I dropped out of Reed College not to rebel for rebellion's sake, but because I sensed that staying would make me small. Dropping out let me drop into what called to me. I slept on floors, returned Coke bottles for nickels, walked across town for a free meal at the Hare Krishna temple. None of it looked strategic, but the freedom bought me attention. I wandered into a calligraphy class and got hypnotized by the shape of letters, the space between them, the way a stroke could feel inevitable or sloppy. I didn't know why it mattered, I just knew it did. Years later, the world said, oh, that's why. The Macintosh wasn't just a computer, it was a statement about taste, about the idea that tools for the mind should also be beautiful, that they should respect human beings at the level of detail most people dismiss as cosmetic. The typography, the spacing, the way it greeted you, all of it told a story. Someone cared here. Someone with taste touched this. Taste is not snobbery. It isn't about luxury or price tags. Taste is the habit of noticing what's right and rejecting what's wrong again and again until what's left feels inevitable. Taste is how you protect your work from compromise and your life from being diluted by other people's low standards. And it turns out that if you don't make the pursuit of taste your daily practice, the market will make mediocrity your destiny. The problem isn't that you can't do great work. The problem is that you haven't trained your eye, your ear, your hand, your judgment to recognize greatness when it's sitting in front of you whispering, not yet. You ship early, you rationalize the rough edges, you say, no one will notice. But you notice, and that's the point. Your nervous system knows when something is right. So the question becomes, will you live by that feeling, or will you file it away because the calendar told you to? If you're honest, a lot of what fills your day is noise. Meetings with no soul, features with no future, content with no courage. You call it progress because something moved from left to right on a board. But the movement isn't the measure. The measure is whether the thing will still matter a year from now. Most of it won't. The world forgets average work quickly and permanently, and it should. Your job is to build the habit that makes forgetting impossible. So let's talk about the one habit that separated me from my competition, the habit that will separate you from yours. Cultivating taste. Not occasionally, not when the moon is right daily, because taste isn't a talent you're born with. Taste is a muscle. And if you train it, everything you touch gets better. Your products, your writing, your code, your presentations, your decisions, your life. Core principle, cultivating taste. People get this wrong. They think taste is about buying expensive things, wearing black turtlenecks, quoting philosophers at parties. That's theater. Taste isn't a costume you put on. It's a standard you live by. It's the relentless pursuit of quality, informed by the best that humanity has already made. It's exposure plus discernment, repeated so often that it changes your reflexes. When I say cultivate taste, I mean expose yourself to the highest quality examples of whatever humans have ever done, and do it across disciplines. Go to a museum and look at a chair designed by the 𝐒𝐚𝐬𝐿. Ask why it feels right in your bones. Walk through the Salk Institute and feel how 𝐒𝐿𝐿 made concrete breathe. Listen to Bach and feel symmetry resolve into something that sounds like inevitability. Read a poem by Mary Oliver and feel how one line lands with the weight of a cathedral. Watch a film by Kurosawa and notice the composition of a single frame, the way silence says more than dialogue. That exposure isn't entertainment, it's calibration. Why does this matter if you build software or pitch clients or film videos for YouTube? Because great work in any field reveals principles that travel. The line of a calligrapher's stroke teaches you about the shape of an icon. The pacing of a symphony teaches you about the rhythm of a presentation. The way a chef composes a tasting menu teaches you about onboarding a user, one delightful bite at a time, building toward a crescendo. Cross-pollination is not a metaphor, it's a method. Taste also comes from subtraction. Most of the world is busy adding. They add buttons, add menus, add disclaimers, add meetings, add jargon, add growth hacks. The result is bloat heavy, confusing, forgettable. Focus is not about doing more in less time. Focus is about deciding what not to do, so what remains can finally sing. I said no to 1,000 things, not because I was cranky, but because I wanted that one yes to be heard in every pixel, every curve, every second of the experience. When you cut away, you reveal the essence. And essence is what people call taste. And one more thing, taste is a form of respect. It respects the person on the other side of your work. It says your time matters, your attention matters, your sense of beauty matters. That's why we obsessed over the box, the unboxing, the first 3 seconds with a product. It's why we made hardware and software together, the whole widget, so nothing important got lost between org charts. Taste is how you communicate that you care long before you say a word. How do you cultivate it? Not with a single book, not with a weekend course, not with a guru. You cultivate it the same way a musician cultivates timing. By listening, by practicing, by demanding more from yourself today than you did yesterday. You expose yourself to the best. You study why it's the best. Then you apply one lesson to your own work now, not later, not when it's convenient now. Repeat this loop until the gap between what you can feel and what you can ship disappears. Framework, the taste building habit. Here's the framework I practiced, often without naming it, and then used consciously when the stakes got higher. Study the masters. Deconstruct why it's great. Apply one lesson. That's the loop. Simple, relentless, transformational. 1. Study the masters in any field. Every day, choose a single piece of great work. Keep it small. 15. Minutes is enough if you actually pay attention. Look outside your field on purpose. If you write code, study a photograph by Cartier-Bresson. If you're a designer, read the first page of a Hemingway story and feel the economy of words. If you're a musician, take apart an interface that feels invisible. This is not an escape from your craft. It's fuel for it. Greatness shares a family resemblance across categories: clarity, inevitability, generosity, courage. Put the piece in front of you and ask, what choices did they make? What did they refuse to do? Where's the weight? Where's the air? What does the first impression whisper? How does the last impression echo? When you study the masters, you're not worshiping them. You're training your eyes to see the decisions under the surface. 2. Deconstruct why. It's great. Deconstructing is the opposite of skimming. You're not saying that's nice. You're saying that angle on the Eames lounge chair invites the body at 12 degrees, which feels welcoming without being sleepy. That's why it reads as relaxed focus. Or this scene in Kurosawa holds the shot for 3 seconds longer than my patience, and in that discomfort I feel the character's restraint. Or this line of copy from a great ad says in 7 words what my paragraph wrote around without ever touching. Put it into words. The moment you can articulate why something works, you begin to own that principle. Write your observations down. Keep a taste journal. Not paragraphs of fluff, bullet points of cause and effect. Serif body text at 11 pints reads warmer at long form. The first touch point should require 0 explanation. A single metaphor carries an entire keynote. Build a living vocabulary for quality. That vocabulary becomes your internal API for excellence. When it's time to make a decision under pressure, your brain will reach for the vocabulary you've rehearsed. 3. Apply one lesson immediately. This is where 90% of people fail. They study and deconstruct, then they nod and go back to business as usual. Don't do that. Apply one lesson today to your work in progress. If you're editing video, cut 10 seconds from the opening and let silence do the work. If you're coding, refactor the function whose name always irritated you until the name tells the truth. If you're designing, remove the extra typeface and adjust the leading until breathing returns. If you're pitching, replace the second slide with one sentence that lands like a bell. The point is not to copy the master. The point is to incorporate a principle so your standard rises. Next day, repeat the loop with a different piece of great work. Over time, you'll notice that your instincts upgrade. You'll reject your own work more ruthlessly. That's good. Creative self-rejection is how quality climbs. The distance between what you can feel and what you can ship will shrink. That distance is the only gap that matters. This loop also hardens your courage, because taste without courage becomes cynicism, endless critique with no ship date. Courage without taste becomes hype, loud promises wrapped around dull work. You need both. The daily loop gives you both: vision trained on the best, action trained on the next right move. If this idea resonates, if you believe in changing the status quo by raising your standard, then show it. Subscribe to this channel, because we're building a community of people who think differently and demand excellence from themselves. Join us and make this taste-building habit your competitive advantage. Mini case calligraphy, the Mac, and the long arc of taste. It turns out the best stories about taste don't look like stories when you're in the middle of them. They look like detours. They look impractical. That calligraphy class at Reed, on paper, it was nonsense. There I was, no degree, no plan, anyone. Approved of studying serifs and ligatures, letter spacing and kerning, the subtle difference between a typeface that smiles and one that smirks. The class wasn't going to earn me a job. It was going to teach me to see. Years later at Apple, when we were building the Macintosh, that seeing paid off. We didn't want a machine that just computed. We wanted an instrument for the mind that respected the human eye. We wanted proportionally spaced fonts that didn't look like they'd been punched out by a typewriter. We wanted multiple typefaces that didn't fight on the same screen. We wanted pixel arrangements that felt like ink on paper rather than a grid of compromises. We didn't bolt those decisions on at the end. We baked them in. The Mac greeted you with taste because taste had greeted us first. I didn't know it would matter when I was 19 and hungry. I didn't know it would matter when I was 30 and fired. Getting kicked out of Apple was a public embarrassment, sure, but it was also an unexpected gift. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again. I started next. I joined forces with a little animation studio that would become Pixar. At Pixar, I saw another dimension of taste: storytelling that refused to talk down to children, animation that treated light and texture like characters, technology used not to show off, but to disappear behind feeling. Taste again: respect the audience, sweat the detail, keep the soul intact. When I returned to Apple, we put all of it to work: the calligraphy, the storytelling, the ruthless editing. We cut product lines, we killed features, we said no until the right yes emerged. People called it a reality distortion field. I understand why. But for me, it was simply insisting that the invisible standards we carried would become visible in the product. I held up a picture of what could be until the laws of physics and talent and time were forced to negotiate with it. When the picture is clear enough and the team is great enough, reality bends. Here's what the calligraphy class taught me that I didn't have words for then. The world is built from invisible decisions. You can feel them in a letter, in a button, in a sentence, in a story. Most people never notice, and their work never compels. If you train yourself to notice, to see the invisible, and demand that it become visible, you will change the quality of everything you do. That change won't always be recognized on day one, but it will be felt. And in a world drowning in content, feeling is the only metric that matters in the long run. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will connect in your future. Your curiosity, your discipline, your tiny obsessive adjustments that make a thing feel right. Taste is the thread that runs through those dots. Pull it. Don't apologize for it. Let it lead you toward work that earns a place in people's lives. Remember, your time is limited. Death is the ultimate editor. It removes every excuse, every status game, every meeting that keeps you from making the thing you're here to make. In the face of that truth, taste isn't optional, it's moral. It's how you honor the people you serve and the time you have left. The discipline of no focus makes taste. Visible taste without focus is just interesting. Focus turns taste into ships, launches, products, films, things that change the way people live. Focus is the art of saying no to 1,000 good ideas so one great idea can be heard. People imagine this as a frail aesthetic preference. It's not. It's a survival strategy. Without focus, you drown in almosts. When I came back to Apple, we had a zoo of products, too many. I drew a simple 4 square on a whiteboard. Consumer and pro, desktop and portable. 4 boxes. That was the focus. Everything that didn't fit died. It wasn't personal. It was necessary. Every product, every feature, every pixel had to justify its existence against the story we were trying to tell. Tools for the mind that are simple, powerful, humane. That story gave us courage to cut. The cuts gave us room to care. This is where people suffer. They're afraid to cut because they're afraid to be wrong, afraid to disappoint, afraid to lose optionality. But optionality is not the same as possibility. Optionality spreads you thin, possibility concentrates you. Your reputation is not built by the number of projects you touch, it's built by the number of lives, improved by the few things you finish with taste. How do you practice the discipline of no? You start by writing your standard down. You decide what your product is for and what it is not for. You put those on a wall. You read them out loud at the start of meetings. When a new feature asks to come in, you say, show us how you make the primary story clearer. If it doesn't, it waits or it dies. You don't argue with taste by opinion, you argue with taste by story alignment. Hire A players who can live with this pressure. B players hire C players and the average collapses. A players don't need babysitting, they need a hard problem and a standard that scares them just enough. They should argue with you. Some of my favorite meetings were loud, not because we enjoyed conflict, but because we refused to ship junk. If you can't remember the last time your team argued about a detail, your standard might be too low. Treat the experience as a single organism. The hardware, the software, the service, the packaging, the first minute, the 10th minute, the 100th day, it's all one story. When people experience your work, they don't care how your company is organized. They care how the thing feels. That's why we built the whole widget. If a seam is visible to a user, it's your seam, even if it belongs to another team on an org chart. Finally, honor the first and last impression. The first impression tells the user you're in good hands. The last impression, when they put the product down or close the app or finish the video, tells them that was time well spent. These impressions bookend the relationship. Get them right and people forgive you the inevitable rough edges in between. Get them wrong and the whole thing feels off, even if the middle is competent. Saying no is not about control, it's about love. You say no because you love the user enough not to waste their life. You say no because you love the craft enough not to pollute it with features you're too embarrassed to remove. You say no because you love your own limited time enough to concentrate it on the one dent you want to make. That love is visible. It shows up as taste. People can feel it long before they can explain it. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Hungry enough to keep learning from the best, foolish enough to say no to what everyone else swears is mandatory. That's how you remain unshakable, not by hardening into cynicism, but by softening into attention and sharpening into focus. Action plan, 30 days to raise your standard. It turns out that identity is built by rituals, not resolutions. Here's a simple ritual that will raise the taste level of your work, your thinking, and your life in 30 days. 15 minutes a day. No excuses, no apps required, just attention and courage. Step 0, create your taste block. Pick a time you can protect morning before the world wakes up or late at night when it's just you and the work. 15 minutes. Put it on your calendar as if a client were paying you because someone is, your future self. Step 1, study one piece of great work outside your field, daily, 15 minutes. Day 1, architecture. Pull up images of the Salk Institute. Notice how the courtyard frames the sky. Day 2, music. Listen to the first movement of Bach's cello suites. Feel the Fa-Gator, structure, build, and release. Day 3, film. Watch a 3-minute scene from Seven Samurai. Look at composition in silence. Day 4, product design. Examine the original Braun radios. Find the restraint in the knobs and typography. Day 5, writing, read the first paragraph of Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants, count the words that carry the scene without telling you what to think. Day 6, a Japanese tea bowl, see how imperfection wabi-sabi creates calm. Day 7, a timeless ad, think small, from VW, learn economy and humor, rotate across 30 days. Keep it fresh, keep it great. Step 2, deconstruct why it's great, write 3 bullets. For each piece, write exactly 3 observations in your taste journal. Don't write poetry, write causality. The space makes me feel calm because the lines repeat, the materials are honest, and light is treated like a material. This copy lands because the metaphor does the heavy lifting, and every extra adjective was, this product feels intuitive because the next action is always the most obvious one and everything else is hidden until needed. Make yourself articulate the why. Naming is ownership. Step 3. Apply 1 lesson immediately. Ship a small change. Take one of your 3 bullets and do something with it today. If you can't apply it to your main project, apply it to a tiny one. A slide, a line of code, a thumbnail, a sentence, a menu. If your lesson was hide everything until needed, go hide 2 settings and surface the 1 action that matters in your interface. If your lesson was treat light like a material, adjust your video lighting so shadows have intention. If your lesson was remove extra adjectives, delete the fluff from your landing page and let the verb do the work, then ship the change, even if only your small audience sees it. Momentum beats perfection. Compounded taste beats sporadic genius. Weekly cadence, review and subtract at the end of each week. Reread your taste journal. Circle the principles that repeat. Those are becoming your signature. Then subtract 1 commitment, feature, or habit that dulls that signature. Stop attending a meeting that exists to prevent feelings. Kill the feature that exists to satisfy a committee. Uninstall the app that taxes your focus. Your taste improves most quickly when you remove what drags it down. Find your A players. Quality is contagious. Identify 3 people, friends, colleagues, creators online whose standard forces you to level up. Meet or message once a week. Share 1 piece of great work you studied, 1 lesson you applied, and 1 thing you killed. Hold one another to promises. Celebrate tiny wins. Mock polite excuses. You're building a microculture where taste is normal. Adopt a symbol. The Mac team raised a pirate flag. You might put a single word at your desk, clarity, finish, taste, or tape a great photo to your wall. The symbol is a trigger. When you see it, you re-enter the story where your future is inevitable and your standards are non-negotiable. Honor first and last impressions. In your next release, ask, what's the first impression, and is it telling the truth about who we are? What's the last impression, and does it leave people lighter, clearer, more capable? Fix those first, then work inward. People will forgive the middle if the bookends are beautiful. Use death as your editor. Each morning ask for 30 seconds. If today were my last, would I ship this as is? If the answer is no, too many days, stop arguing with your own taste. Cut, change, or cancel. Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's backlog. Measure what matters. Judge your progress by the quality of decisions, not vanity metrics. Did you say no when it counted? Did you apply 1 lesson today? Did someone feel cared for by the thing you shipped? If yes, you're winning. The numbers will follow. Excellence is a lagging indicator of attention. After 30 days, you will not be a different person. You will be a clearer one. Your reflexes will change. You'll reject your own mediocrity faster and with less drama. You'll choose the essential more easily. Your work will start to feel inevitable not because it's perfect, but because it's finally honest. That honesty is taste. People can sense it from across a room. And one more thing, stay hungry, stay foolish. Hungry because there is always a higher bar, a better example, a sharper lesson. Foolish because the world will try to talk you out of caring this much. They'll say it's not realistic. They'll say no one will notice. They're wrong. You will notice. And the people you serve, the ones who are paying attention to their own lives, they will notice too. They may not be able to explain why your work feels different. They'll just keep coming back because it makes them feel more human, more capable, more alive. If this spoke to you, if you're ready to raise your standard and live by it, subscribe to this channel and press the like button. We're building a community that refuses to ship forgettable work, that prizes excellence, quality, mastery, learning, high standards, a mindset that puts a dent in the universe by insisting on taste. Join us and bring someone else who wants to be surrounded by that kind of energy. The journey doesn't end here. It starts every morning when you sit down and give 15 minutes of your life to the best things humanity has made, and then give the next hour to making something worthy in return. That's the habit I live by. It will separate you from your competition more than any secret tactic ever could. Now go study something great, write down why it's great, apply one lesson, and ship with pride. Stay hungry. Stay foolish. And do something wonderful.